Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, municipality, individual, or anyone or anything.
He's a surgeon. He's a 100-ton boat captain. He's a lieutenant on Seaside Heights Beach Patrol in New Jersey. He's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's Dr. Michael Kachmar. Need answers to your medical questions? We have them. Listen in to hear latest on medical topics related to all that and more.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar. Welcome to Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar. And today is October the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2022. And we don't have Jeremy today. We have Sean, our fill-in.
Hello.
Sean is from our other show, Lifeguard Off Duty with Dr. Kachmar. So we're going to do, this is for Scrubbing Up. We have a show today. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. For those who are new, we are on Rumble. This is a live show right now. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch, Twitter,
Spotify,
Apple
Music,
and Facebook. Sean, can you throw up our email? If anybody wants to get a hold of us and ask us about medical questions or really anything for that matter, lifeguarding, you can get us at drkachmar at icloud.com. So that's drkachmar at icloud.com. And we have a webpage too, Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center. Maybe Sean could throw that up. So this show today is a medical, political show. We talk a lot about medicine and politics. And I'm going to bring up a thing today, which I think is very important to people to understand. You know, there's ramifications. We try to look at the bigger picture, and we go back in history, and we try to understand things. So let me go back here. Today we're going to talk about medicine and specifically the patient-doctor relationship, peer review, and some interesting articles that just came up with regard to what's going on in medicine and corporate America. So here's an article. Can we go to to my iPad, Sean, please?
Yes,
so here's a great article. So it says, "This won't hurt a bit. The anesthesiologist who is putting you under may work for a private equity firm." So that's pretty interesting. I don't think people understand this. Now, this is nothing new. This has been started since the Affordable Health Care Act. So I want to put this headline again. This won't hurt a bit. The anesthesiologists who are putting you under may work for a private equity firm.
What does that mean, Kachmar?
Well, private equity is well, here, let me say, a few months after a private equity owned firm took over one Nevada hospital's anesthesia services, it became obvious they were understaffing, said the hospital chief of staff. That's the allegation. So what that means is that, you know, after the passing of the Affordable Health Care Act, which was you know, along party lines, it was not united. It wasn't Republicans. Not one Republican voted for it. It was all Democrats. And what the Affordable Health Care Act did, one of the things it did was to actually encourage corporate America, big institution, big money to get into medicine. Okay, it obliterated, destroyed the patient-doctor relationship. Okay, and so can you put me in a little box on the side? Yeah. So keep the iPad. Yeah. Just put me inside because I could show you the whiteboard too. People could look at both things. If you could do that, that'd be great. So there you got to go. That's okay. Go back and forth. So
there we go.
What we're looking at here is so this is an article, but we'll get back to it in a minute. But what I'm saying is that the Affordable Health Care Act of 2009, it was around party lines, and what that did is it biased it in its DNA. It had the idea that big corporations could get into medicine. It'll be more effective. It'll be cheaper, more streamlined, better medicine. And in fact, I have it up the top there. If you could, it's called quantity and quality. So they were saying better quality, which in my opinion is kind of questionable. And I want to say this about Affordable Health Care Act. If you guys remember it, can you put me back on the screen for a minute?
It's you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. When you had Affordable Health Care Act, there was about maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 million people in the United States that didn't have health care. They were mostly poor people. People who had jobs, who worked for corporations, had health care through their employer. In fact, that's still today most of the people.
Yeah, I don't think everyone has healthcare now.
Now, but listen, okay. The other thing is if you were senior, over 65, you had Medicare, and also people who are disabled, they had Medicare, which is a federal government insurance, medical insurance. And then for the states, you had Medicaid. Now, if the politicians were serious about giving everybody health care, all they had to do is fund it well, Medicaid to the states. Now, the problem with that is the federal government wouldn't have control over medicine. They have control over Medicare, but they don't have control over the poor, and that's still up to the states. So this was a power grab. They got the Affordable Health Care Act, and they thought they were going to control all of the care, for the old people, and then they were going to get the poor people, and then they were going to try to fold it into socialized medicine. It never worked. And so now what you have, though, is there's some residual damage or residual processes that are going on now in the healthcare industry that are directly related to what happened with a non-bipartisan, that wasn't bipartisan, one group of individuals who shoved it down the throats of the American public, and now what you have is this. And I'm not so sure everybody has healthcare, because I can tell you right now, the illegal aliens, migrants that are coming in the hospital, they ain't got no insurance unless they go to the clinic, and there's still a lot of people who can't afford insurance, and they're actually underinsured. So it's a big bunch of crap. And also, it did a couple things. It destroyed the patient-doctor relationship, and I'm going to put this over here. It destroyed the patient-doctor relationship. It also corroded or destabilized or reduced peer review that was in the hospitals. I'm going to explain about this a little bit. This is an interesting topic. So let's just go back to my my iPad, please. A full screen for me, please. You could just hit the iPad icon there if you could do it. You do it? No?
I got it.
Yeah, you'll get it. So Sean's just learned how to run the show here, so he's going to get it. So try to bring that up when you can. So the anesthesiology, I got to do better than that. Let me see. Hang on. Let's go this way. There you go. So this is an article, and I'm not going to allege anything, but this is actually, it said this summer the anesthesiology department at Cooperman Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston, New Jersey was in crisis. For months, the outside staffing company overseeing the department had slashed staff to what the 60-bed hospital leaders considered dangerous levels. So basically, it was a staffing issue. I don't know if it's true or not, and we're not going to get into that. That's not the point of what I'm saying. That's actually a lawsuit. Hospital officials recorded 286 adverse events that resulted from chronic understaffing, according to a lawsuit. Now, this is in a prior article, news. You guys could look it up yourself. So we're not trying to make any allegations, but what's interesting here is that the people who ran the anesthesiology department were basically a company. So here, the nonprofit acute care hospital then informed a new anesthesiology department of its own hiring. Okay, so basically there was a company that they hired, and it's called NAPA. And it says practice have drawn complaints and generated litigations from other hospitals in recent years. So I'm just going to keep going down here. So here's what North American Partners in Anesthesiology, and I'm not saying they're good or bad. I mean, we have anesthesiologists in hospitals I work that are very, very good. So this is not necessarily, there's nothing in here questioning the care as much as staffing shortages. But could be, that's another whole thing I'm going to get into. But my point is that where I work in the anesthesiology department that I work with and people, they're excellent. They're really good. But, if you don't have enough anesthesiologists, then you could see that you can't get cases done, and it backs up. So so it's the largest anesthesia staffing company, employing 6,000 clinicians at 500 facilities in 21 states. The company is owned by two well-heeled private equity firms, American Securities of New York City and Leonard Green and Partners in Los Angeles. 4 of NAP's 9 directors are private equity executives. Private equity firms invest in companies that aim to sell them in about 5 years for more than they paid. So they buy it. It's an investment. They beef up the profits. How they do that? I don't know, but they do, and then they sell it for a profit. You understand?
Yeah.
You go in, you buy it. Now, I'm not saying that they're not caring about patient care, but remember back in the 80s and 90s when guys that movie Greed, where they went in, they bought corporate companies, and they dismantled it and sold it for more than what it was worth when they bought it. Anyway, they're going in here. These guys are looking for profit. This is the corporate capitalism, which I'm all for, but not in medicine. So they come in, and so in recent years, they've snapped up healthcare companies with a particular interest in anesthesiology. But some physicians and patients advocates say the healthcare investment of private equity firms and their drive to reap relatively short-term profits are inconsistent with putting patients first. Independent academic studies find that private equity's laser focus on profits in healthcare operations can result in lower staff levels at hospitals and nursing homes. Again, I don't know if that's true, but my point I want to make, in getting back to my whiteboard, is that this is a offshoot of the Affordable Health Care Act. Okay, consequences. Barack Obama pushed this down, and the Democrats pushed this down the throats of the American people. All right? If they really cared about people's having insurance, they could have, all they had to do, there was a system in every state called Medicaid. It's still there. They could have funded it.
Why do you think they didn't fund Medicaid?
Because if they did, they would not have the power. If the states would, they'd have to give the money to the states.
So now it's all in these big corporations?
No. Well, what they did, a couple things, affordable health care is through the federal government. So they control the money. They control the purse strings. Then they controlled power. Then also what they did is they let in corporate America. They biased big groups for higher payments in the system. So, and it was right in the Affordable Health Care Act. You could read it. They don't want mom and pop. They don't want small doctors. They want groups of 50 or 100. So who's going to do that? You private equity. I can't. How am I going to develop a practice with 100 doctors? You need a private equity with hundreds of millions of dollars. And they come in and they're buying up. It's not just that they're doing anesthesia, by the way. They're doing dermatology, right? There's this, one around here, Connolly Dermatology. It's an investment. They're buying eye doctor groups, eye doctors, ophthalmologists. In the hospital, anesthesiology is a private company. Your emergency room is a private company, and your intensive care unit is a private company. Now you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to break it down because the whole thing doesn't work. What were you going to say? I guess you have a question.
All these different medicine types are selling the biggest or the newest pill or medicine they're selling. Why is all these big business corporations just for straight profit?
Straight profit. Now, do they care about people's care? I don't know. But, so here, market power. Over the past decade, private equity firms have brought up physician practices in anesthesiology, emergency medicine, and dermatology. A study of private equity buyouts of physician practices published in JAMA Network in February 2020 found that anesthesiology practices were the focus of almost 20% of the buyouts, the highest percentage of deals involving a single specialty. Emergency medicine accounted for 12%. So they're trying to find the best profits, And my point about this is that they are saying that according to Barack Obama and Affordable Health Care Act, if we get corporations in there and big groups, it'll be cost effective. Well, here, go back to this is right here. One outcome of market power is rising prices. And new research finds that private equity takeovers of anesthesiology practices have resulted in higher patient costs. A study published by the Journal of American Medical Association Internal Medicine in February 2022 analyzed more than 2 million anesthesia claims from 2012 to 2017. Research found that patient costs rose by 26% after anesthesiology practices were taken over by private equity firms. So there's is there staffing issues? Is there quality and quantity issues? And it's costing more. So, go back to me, please. So your Affordable Health Care Act of 2009, which I knew was going to be a disaster. Okay, here's now, maybe there's well-meaning people, but again, they could have easily funded Medicaid, not Medicare, Medicaid. They could have lowered the age for Medicare. Everybody in the United States would have had health care. You got to understand, the way it works in this country is the poor, individuals in a state, the state is responsible for the care of the poor. So the federal government tried to take over the care of the poor. They couldn't. And you might say, well, the states are not doing a good job. They could fund the states. They could have this decisions and negotiations with the states, and they could have easily had Medicaid funding. Right now, Medicaid funding is doled out on a very limited. They titrate it out for their buddies, and so it's very political.
Is Medicaid even around anymore?
Oh yeah, no. It's every state has Medicaid some level.
Do you still get patients that have Medicaid?
No, I can't make any money. I mean, if they, like if I have Medicare, I get paid maybe $110, $120 for an office visit. I might get $7 with a Medicaid. Wow. Now, what they do is they'll go in and especially they'll get a couple doctors and give them special rates. And so they limit the amount of exposure. They limit it. So it's not the best thing, but they could have worked those things out. So no, it's a terrible. I mean, listen, I shouldn't say it's terrible. A lot of people make big money. The hospitals are funded. Medicaid could work. It's just. I think I don't want to get into the pros and cons of Medicaid as opposed to private insurance. But I think the bigger picture here is that the Affordable Health Care Act had consequences that didn't do what it was supposed to do. Number one, it made prices more expensive. It destroyed the patient-doctor relationship because
I was really young around the time Affordable Health Care Act was coming out. What was like the big promise with it? Just
everybody's going to have health care.
Everybody's going to have it,
and it's going to be affordable.
So everyone's going to have the same thing, and it's all going to be good.
Yeah, kumbaya, unicorns, and everybody's going to be fine. In the meantime, that's not what happened. So what happened is this is one thing that I see. Now another ramification of this is peer review. So let me give you a little mechanics of how things worked. I've been in medicine for 30 years. I've been in the hospital staff. I still am. And how a hospital works is you have the administration, which runs the brick and mortar. They make sure the toilet bowl's flushed. They make sure there's equipment. They make sure the nursing staff is paid. They make sure that there's, they hire people and to run the facility. And then you have the medical staff. The medical staff is the doctors, okay, and the nurses, but mostly the doctors. And the medical staff has departments. You have Department of Surgery, Department of Orthopedics, Department of Urology, Department of GI. I ran Department of Foot and Ankle Surgery, Podiatric Surgery, and I had maybe 30 doctors underneath me. And so there's General Surgery Department. And so what you do is you're the department head, right? And you have rules and regulations in your department. And those rules and regulations have to be followed by the doctors in your department. There's also hospital rules and regs. And a big part of the rules and regs are peer review. Now, peer review is on the bottom here. It says peer review. Peer review basically means is that, one of the doctors, I'm the department chair, and we have a meeting every month. All the department chairs go in. They give reports on the status of the department, outcomes, deaths, complications, and we do things called screens. We do these things called screens. And say I want to, like in my profession, we do ankle tourniquets and thigh tourniquets. We put tourniquets on while we're operating so you don't bleed. A lot of people do that. But so we would put a screen out and say, okay, for a thigh tourniquet, we don't want it on any more than 2 hours. And it has to be at a certain time and a certain pressure. And that would be a screen. And then what happens is these things are recorded during the operation. Everything's recorded. And then somebody at the end of the month goes through these records and see if it is out of the screen number. So in other words, let's just say we say anything over 2 hours needs to be reported to us, and anything over, say, 350 millimeters of pressure have to be reported. And so now you get these reports, and like say there's one doctor, say where you're way out of the normal parameters. So we bring you in and we go,
these outliers do happen though.
Yes. So in peer review, we say, okay, Sean, you're not doing a good job, and you got to modify your behavior, and we're going to recommend this, this, and this. Now this is all private.
This is like strike one on your.
Well, this is not public. This is internal.
Yeah.
And then you might
like the department, like we know that you use a tourniquet too long or whatever.
Right. So we may say you're going to be supervised, or you can't do the case anymore, or you got to call me first, and I'll okay it. And there's a million things that happen like this. If there's somebody had a bad outcome, too long in the OR, somebody. I mean, it's serious stuff. Some people die. I mean, this is over 30 years of me practicing, and every department does this, and it was a good thing. And what happened though is so now think about it. Okay, I'm the department head of let's just say I'm the department head of anesthesia. Well, wait a minute now. Anesthesia department, you know, it was usually a bunch of anesthesiologists who were on staff at the hospital. They're, like, you could be the head of anesthesia, and if there was, I had a problem with one of your anesthesiologists who was giving me shitty anesthesia, or I thought it was impaired, or you know, whatever, or I was having issues, I could go as a department head, or if I was, you know, I could go to you and say, listen, here's a problem. We could write it, and then you would have a query, you know, and bring the individual in. And your next meeting, everybody's standing around. So hey, you know, Dr. Smith, you know, Kachmar saying you did this, and this, and this.
So this is small scale peer review.
Yes, how it's going on now.
As medicine got bigger, peer review.
Well, no. Well, think about it. If the hospital hires a outside company, this company, anesthesia company,
that's going to supply the anesthesia for the.
Okay. Well, and it's owned by an equity firm up in New York City. You know, John Jones LLC Corporation. There's nobody. I mean, you know, so at the peer review, who comes in there? A lawyer? One of the doctors who works for them?
Yeah.
And says, I'm a working stiff. I can't do shit. You understand? Now, intensive care
he
unit.
has to make the company happy, but he has to keep.
Well, you ruin, you know, so in other words, how do you do peer review now? So that company says, no, well, we'll do our own peer review.
And well, they have like a standard that they're trying to uphold if they're going to supply you with anesthesia.
Yeah, well, supply, yeah. So now, but that's, you know, the people who should be looking at peer review should not be the people who are making a profit.
Absolutely.
You know, so you have anesthesia, you have ER. Now they'll say everything's fine. You know, we're monitoring, and I can tell you, for the most part, you know, it looks pretty good. But we've changed the peer review protocols. You don't have them like you did before, because you have corporate America in there now.
And they don't. I've heard that they don't even have to disclose all of the information or the way they do peer reviews anymore.
Well, you know, I don't know about that, and you make a good point, because first of all, the hospitals are, you know, if you gotta get Gabe Jasper out of here. I'm not. See, you have on the bottom. Get rid of the name. See right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get rid of that. So, yeah,
I didn't pull that up. This was on Restream.
No, you did. You hit something. Oh, why are you in Restream? You should be. You get out of Restream.
I was gonna look up peer reviews.
No. Get out of that. Yeah. Go back to econ. Don't truck. So anyway, sorry about that. The thing is, what my point I wanted to make is that the Affordable Health Care Act has changed the playing field. This article, which is pretty neat, is showing that there is some issues with these corporations running the show. Now, I'm going to tell you, you know, my anesthesiologists and the people I work with that are from an outside company do very well, and it can be well. But when you get rid of peer review or let them do their own peer review, I think that's dangerous. It's my opinion. I'm a puntant. You know, I know
nothing.
I know no, but I don't think it's right. But I want the American people to understand the screens and what we did before, they're not there anymore. You know, and so
they just seem to be generally less honest for the. Well,
but if you listen, you have the ER, Sean. You have the ER. ER is a big company, you know. So who's doing the peer review there? And you know, we have the ER doctors that used to have a department head. Well, you know, who's the department head? Yeah, one guy, but he's working for a company. You know, I mean, or he works for the hospital. The other thing that's changing, and you know, you've had it over the years in big institutions. You know, University of Penn and you know, places where the doctors work for the hospital. But now that's becoming more and more prevalent. You know, I don't know what the number is, but maybe like half the doctors on a hospital are working for the hospital. Well, do they need to have peer review? Do they need to have a department? Like, we used to be the medical staff. We were in opposition to the administration. Administration was the bean counters. We cared about the patient care. Well, now you get rid of that.
So wait, the original medical system was doctors worked in the hospital, but
Right.
not employees.
No, right. Not all of them. Some of them, but not
They were private.
private. Like I am private. I submit.
I've never heard this before. That's crazy.
okay,
so
so
like you're private, but they used to all be private.
In the years that I've been there, most doctors on staff were private.
Is it becoming less now?
Oh, big time. Everybody's being hired by the doctors, by the hospital or a big corporation. Yeah, so it used to be that the administration would take care of us, make sure that we had the facilities, the equipment, the quality, and to give good care.
And they would want these private doctors because they could brag that they had said
No, because they make money. We bring in patients to the hospital, and the hospital makes money.
Okay.
So the hospital would bill for patient, care, intake. We would bill for our procedures. But the patient sitting in the hospital bed or in the ER or using the OR, the hospital would make a profit out of that.
Yeah, but prior to all this, like an individual doctor that had a good relationship with his patients, hospitals could brag and advertise that they have said doctor.
Yes, that too, right. And then we would, we had peer review, and we would monitor each other. And you say, well, there's the same scenario, the Fox's, the hen house, but
would you say that competition between private doctors is like what peer review should be? Because then you had to like be honest about what each other.
Yeah, because if you're an orthopedic surgeon in a town and there's another orthopedic surgeon group, and you're going to bust their balls if they're not doing.
Yeah, but you want to be better than him, but you want to be better than him the right way.
Right. And if you see him screwing up or her, you're gonna
let everyone know, and they're gonna start coming to you.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a good, healthy, adversarial attitude there. And so what happened is, it was starting to change. The hospital, didn't, because the hospital don't like us. We would say, listen, you're not spending enough money on nurses. We need more equipment. This is bullshit. People are waiting too long in the ER. So we would fight the bean counters, which are the administration. Well, the administration now is like, you know what? F it. We'll get our own doctors. We'll hire these kids, coming out. They'll jump as high as we say. They'll do what they say. And again, they get rid of the peer review.
And some of these doctors, they could say just graduated out of said university.
Yeah.
0 years of experience. What is it when you live in a hospital?
Residency.
Yeah, your residency.
And the hospital makes big money on a residency. Then what you got now, you had the Affordable Health Care Act. And what that did is it gave insurances, and they actually said, hey, listen, if we're going to pay more, we're going to allow big groups to get more money. So like if I'm a group of doctors, 50 and more, and say we bill for a certain code, we get $100. If like me, I get $100. That group will get $120. Because the Affordable Health Care Act, set up these biases to push small mom and pop out of business. It was almost like the government going in when there was just, millions or, thousands of hardware stores. And they went in and they funded and helped like Home Depot and Lowe's to open up, lower the prices, and crush the doctors.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. It's exactly what happened. That's why right now you're seeing less and less mom and pop. But the thing is with mom and pop, you come into my office, it's me.
You're going to see you.
Yeah, not a corporation. And so there's a lot of levels here I wanted to point out. One of the things, though, is that this corporation, when you have an investment private equity firm, they buy a company, and they want to sit on it and try to lower the overhead, make more profit, and maybe bring more business in, advertise. It's not necessarily all bad. And then they sell it for a profit. That's what they do. I don't think private equity should be in medicine. Now, back in the day, you could not own a dermatology group or a surgery. You had to be a doctor. The urgent care centers, for instance,
Was that just illegal, or no one had that?
No, it was against the law. You could not own. If you were not a doctor, you could not own it. Now, there's guys there's private equity firms own anesthesiology. They're not doctors. They own the business, but there's some law. You got to have a doctor overseeing it. Oh, okay. And you fire him if you don't like him.
He's on the board.
I mean, you got the big thing is urgent care centers. A lot of them are not owned by doctors at all. They're owned by guys, corporation. So now what happened is that that's one of the things with the Affordable Health Care Act is they open up the doors. Anybody can own anything. So now you have, you could go back and say, you can't own an anesthesiology group. It has to be anesthesiologists, period. They need to be sole control, sole owners, and that's it. And so, but that's not how it works now.
Speaking of urgent cares, I go to them occasionally, but usually when I know that I have an issue and whatever. What is a physician's assistant? What is that?
Get rid of the bottom thing so you can see. Yeah, so physician's assistant is a trained individual who basically, it's not a doctor, but they have the qualifications to assist. And they actually, a good way to think about it is a physician extender. So they help me. Say I'm in the office or doctor's in the office or in the ER.
Or you see them in urgent cares, right? At least
yeah. But here's the thing. It used to be that the doctor would have to be on site and supervise them directly. Now it could be anywhere, Like even in the hospital, when you get under anesthesia, a lot of times it's not an anesthesiologist, it's a nurse anesthesiologist. It's a nurse practitioner.
Yes.
But the doctor's somewhere in the area. So and I've worked with nurse practitioners for 30 years. They're very good. They got it down. But I don't know about this where you have an urgent care center and there's no doctor on site, I mean,
it's a strange concept.
Well,
and it's happening.
It's happening every day. It's all, again, it's part of the Affordable Health Care Act. It's trying to get medicine out there. I have my thoughts about that, but there's a lot of people in medicine right now who have no idea about medicine, and they're secretaries. They're booking people. They're making appointments, and we see it all the time. They have no idea what they're talking about, but you need that to kind of fill in the gaps. It's hard to get really well-trained people, but that's what's going on. So, let's pull up this other one here. I want to go to another thing. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're good. So this here is, we're going to go, let me just see
this is your mail.
Go, what's that?
We're looking at your mail right now. What are you?
Hang on. Let me just, hang on. Let me go here. I'll pull this up. So, let me find this here. Let me just find this. Here you go. So this is an interesting article. This article is at Mind Matters.
California law to punish doctors for misinformation about COVID.
Right. And I want to just throw this out there.
The big C word.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's about anything. But here's the thing. This is just recently. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation on Friday that gives the state some ammunition against physicians who spread lies, about maybe COVID, but in the context of direct patient care, although it won't apply to those who spread such information on social media. And my point is here, and I understand where they're coming from, but we talked about this, and there's a lot of problems with this because scientific consensus. The most obvious problem with the AB 29.8 is the bill's assumption that a term like scientific consensus is a specific enough guideline for tracking and punishing misinformation by medical professionals. So we're getting back to, here it is. It's said to be the first such law in the nation. Such misinformation, when it is contradicted by contemporary scientific consensus, contrary to the standard of care, and delivered with malice intent and intent to mislead, now can be defined as unprofessional conduct. Well, listen, we talk about First Amendment speech, and we talk about time, place, and manner, but not content. And when you talk about science and medicine, you got to let us bitch and moan and groan and argue and discuss it and go after each other on social media and anywhere else. And now
but this is shutting down the conversation.
Right. Now, it's one thing if I treat somebody with some crazy drug. Okay, that's different. But you're talking about and if you're telling people you should do this or do that, you have to, there's a level of where you have to let people make their own decisions.
Yeah, generally, everyone says that you can't cure cancer with a Z-Pack, right?
Right. But my thing is that you have to be very careful when you start going down this road of censoring, especially doctors and medicine. What I know about medicine, and I can tell you right now, how many 100 years ago they used to bleed you. How about years ago when it was Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, his sister, she had a lobotomy. They used to go underneath your eyes and cut your brain. I mean, there was, I could go on and on about different kind of medicines and different things that were state of the art back then, and now we look at it and we go, what the frig, you know? How many medicines were taken off the market because it killed people? Thalamine, which was a anti-nausea medicine given to women, and there was tons of babies who were born without limbs. You know, Bextra, you know, there's anti-inflammatories they took off the market. I could go on and on and on and on. Procedures, there's tons of procedures that were done that now we know are terrible, that should, you know, that killed people, that hurt people. This is just the way life is. My point is that if you stifle people from making the argument or discussing it and shut them down, that's very dangerous. My question is I understand, you know, maybe this guy, Newsom, I don't know him that well. I know he's, you know, maybe to me, you know, California's in a shit.
Is he the same guy that was eating outside during all?
Yeah. Do what I say, don't do what I do. And but my point is that we have this First Amendment in this country, and you better be real damn careful. Forget about the doctors and medicine. You know, we have to be able to discuss it, and we have to discuss it without having these politicians who know nothing about anything trying to tell us, you know, what to do. And this is where you talk about the swamp and the government. The National Health Fauci's, you know, who runs National Health.
I think he just resigned, didn't he?
I don't know if he quit, or, you know. So they are under the executive branch. They made their own rules. Fauci said, you know, to everybody who was a landlord, you can't charge rent during this pandemic. Who the hell is he? That should be Congress. So my point is that we're getting crazy in this country. You know, I mean, they said for me and all the doctors, we could not prescribe certain drugs, you know, off label. We've done that. You know, 90%. We do off-labeling all the time. A drug that was made for this, we give for this. Now all of a sudden we can't do that anymore during COVID, and you know, a lot had to do with that. These governors and the President of the United States, and you know, had a medical emergency, you know, a state of emergency. In fact, just want to make a point. Biden just put ahead or renewed the state of emergency for the United States for another 90 days because of the.
Didn't he declare that it was over?
Yeah, but he just renewed it. So he still has powers now under the Emergency Act to do crazy stuff. Just want to let you know, people, this is out of control. But anyway, I wanted to make this point. So the issue is doctors spreading lies to patients. Hold that thought. A City Journal, we heard a rather different assessment. So basically, you know, they're saying here, there is a lot. I'm not going to get into this whole thing because I don't want to. They'll boot me off. You know, they'll boot me out of here.
You keep saying
YouTube.
You keep saying the trigger words are going to get you.
Right. So basically, I think that what has happened here is public health authorities are now trusted much less, and you know, you got to be really careful about. You go back to my screen. Get rid of. Go back to me. You got to be really, really careful about doing stuff like that. I think it's very dangerous to limit a doctor and what they could do. And let me just look at my whiteboard here. Doctor relation, corporate America. Yeah. So I got one other thing I want to talk about. And hang on one second, Sean. Yes, you're learning a lot here. You know.
Actually, we talked about off-labeling the last time I was on this show.
Oh, that's okay. Well, let me throw in. I got two more things I want to talk about because these are my pet peeves, and this is medicine and this is politics. So. Again, today, now, you know, Barack Obama, Trump, he's this, he's that. Well, I'll tell you what, right now, this is an article, put this up here on right here, all right? Published September 25th, 2022. FDA investigates the ongoing baby formula shortage. Here's what it found. I don't care what it found.
Yeah, how could there be less of
How the hell in the United States of America we have a baby? This has been going on for years now, over a year. I mean, this is unacceptable. This is bullshit. If this was Trump, I can tell you right now.
Exit out of that.
This would never have happened. I mean, you know, I know it keeps coming up here. This is, we're on live here. So anyway, here it is. And, you know, I can't even, you know, baby formula shortage is far from over, but to prevent further certainty, the United States is taking a critical look at what went wrong earlier this year.
What even is baby formula?
Well, it's what you give to kids.
No, I know,
Instead-
but like, is
oh.
it milk? Like, what is it?
It's a whole kinds of
It's
stuff.
just
Protein. It has to be specific, and there's different ones for different childs. They have certain needs. They have allergies. They have medical issues. It's very important, and you know, not all mothers could breastfeed, and you know, so it disrupts a lot of life and a lot of people's activity. And here's it. On February 17, 2022, the FDA sent out a warning to consumers to stop using powdered infant formula from Abbott, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. Let me tell you something. This is governmental, what's the word I want to use? Mismanagement. That's not a strong word. They're just terrible.
Stupidity.
The best, right? Stupidity. This is what happens. I saw this in Carter years. The government is just not sharp enough. They can't get out of their own way. They're more worried about critical race theory. They're more worried about
keeping their jobs and
Listen, we're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars over Ukraine. How about spending some of that money and get us baby formula? Why don't we? Can't we? I could open up a factory already in New Jersey in the Pine Barrens, and we could be just making baby formula.
Yeah.
How about that? So I'm just throwing it out. This is how. People, Trump is bad and everything. Okay, well, now we don't have, there's a shortage.
Now the babies are starving.
Well, but I mean, when they say a shortage, it was pretty heavy duty. So we got one more. Go to me, and I'll finish up here because I'm on my roll. This is what we do every time when we do it. So you're not used to my shows here. This is just crazy, crazy stuff that needs to be brought out to the public. Now, I got one more here, and I think this is important. I want to end with this because I think this thing cuts across Democrats, Republicans, and this is something that I think we all could agree about. And what's going on, and this is based on, we have record overdoses. Hang on, Sean, just wait 1 second. I got to get it right here. We have record overdoses of what do you call it? I don't know why we're not getting it here. Here it is. We have record overdoses in the United States. Probably going to be 120, 130,000 of drug overdoses this year. We have amazing amount of suicides. It's getting worse and worse, and it's younger and younger. We got 10-year-olds. I think they're between 10 and 18 years old.
Are you talking about like heroin overdoses or all of the
above? Fentanyl. Everything, all over. But fentanyl is the big one. I think 60, 70% of drug overdoses, fentanyl. It's directly related. Again, this is my opinion, but a lot of people agree with me. It's coming because the border is wide open, and it's just coming from South America, and it's coming from China. China is sending it fentanyl to Mexico. They're making it into like little. They look like Skittles, little pills. Sent it to the United States.
I heard it's in everything. It's in cocaine. It's in heroin.
It's cheap as shit, and it's they
cut other drugs with fentanyl.
And like the kids right now in the state of New Jersey, for people who don't know, if you're under 21. You could smoke pot in the public, out in anywhere you want to go, on the beach, on the boardwalk, right? And the cops can only give you a warning. It's not illegal and it's not delinquent or criminal. It means, and what's happening, a lot of this pot that they're getting, they're not buying it from the stores. They're getting, from
kids,
the buddy on the corner, and it's tainted. They're putting fentanyl in there. You get an extra bang. So this is something that I think we all should look at right here. 90% of the U.S. adults say the United States is experiencing a mental health crisis. And I can tell you right now, that's very true. And and this is good because I think this is something that could bring everybody together. This is overwhelming majority of people in the United States think the country is experiencing a mental health crisis, according to, you could say mental in the United States. And there's a lot of reasons for this. What's happening is that it's causing people to commit suicide, to get drug overdose, not to want to work. And a big part of it is that, you could get out of here. I get too many commercials here.
I heard, what do you think about the concept of that, just the problem with the fentanyl being in all these drugs is because drugs aren't legal and they aren't being distributed by monitored by the government?
Well, first of all, there are legal drugs. You have cigarettes, which we know kill people,
but they don't have fentanyl in them.
Well, hang on, alcohol so when you talk about legal and illegal, and then I have no problem with marijuana, even recreational. But here's the thing: when they passed the marijuana law in New Jersey, they said 21. You have to be 21. You have to smoke in your house, and it has to be what do you call it? You can't carry too much on the outside.
Yeah, you can't be a distributor.
But then the governor of New Jersey, they passed an amendment, and I call it the Butt Law. But it's not, B-U-T-T, it's B-U-T. But if you're under 21, you could smoke it anywhere you want. You could drink booze, hashish, anything you want, and all the cops could do is give you a warning. And pot, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I'm a foot and ankle surgeon, my humble opinion, it's a gateway drug. And it also is a very, very strong, powerful drug when it comes to the brain. And we really shouldn't be having 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids smoking this shit. Now, I experimented when I was probably 15 or 16, and, I didn't like it. And, but I didn't keep smoking it for a lot of different reasons. But the main reason, it was against the law. And I didn't want to get locked up. I didn't want to lose my career. Even at that age, I was smart enough to know. So I think that, to me, if you're under 21, you should get a ticket. You should be brought home to your parents. You should get your,
if you're smoking it under 21, you should definitely get in some sort of trouble.
Big time trouble. And not, go to jail, not have a felony charge. My point is that when you say we should legalize, well, first of all, why do people do drugs? That's the whole thing. I mean, alcohol, you get a buzz. People need an escape from reality.
Have you heard all this stuff coming out about psilocybin and
yeah.
like how that could help mental health?
Yeah. Well,
what do you think about that?
It's been around for a long time. I mean,
the 60s was like big, all that stuff.
The thing I want to make a point is, right now it's funny because back in Reagan's day, Ronald Reagan, his wife had it. They had a thing. They said, just say no.
Yeah.
Right. No. N-O. You know what they say now? The government, they have hashtag no. K-N-O-W. Not just say no. They say hashtag no. So about drugs, just know about them. I don't know what the frig that means.
Yeah, no.
I'm telling you,
it sounds like it means a whole lot of nothing.
That's the government's right now, the Biden administration. It's hashtag no, K-N-O-W. Yeah. That's the drug.
Know what? Know how to use them. Know that they're there. Know that people do use them.
I don't know. Yes, I had a friend of mine years ago said that his problem with his son is that he didn't know how to use correctly marijuana. The father was a drug addict for years. He was heavy duty into acid when he was a young guy, and actually became a very good surgeon. Surprised he didn't scramble his brain, but he's like I don't know. But my point is that and I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. A lot of people like smoking pot. A lot of people do it for municipal purposes. But what I'm saying is the young kids are getting into it, and if you have mental health to begin with, and you're smoking this stuff, and then people are sprinkling fentanyl with it, it's a dangerous combination. With the fentanyl stuff, you get online and you could order a pill. You could be living in, like, say, Kansas in the middle of nowhere, and UPS or Amazon delivers a package. You take one pill and you're dead. And there's about 400 or 500 kids now. I was looking at it the other day where the parents go upstairs, the kid's up there. The kid's a good kid, not a bad kid, and they go up there and the kid's dead. And like, what happened? And he took a pill. He thought it was a Percocet or something. So we're in a bad time right now, and that's why I try to go over these articles and try to put some common sense and mental illness. What I wanted to say is one of the reasons why I think we're having a lot of mental illness in this country is that religion served a very good thing. When you had a religious basis, you what do you call it? You had something to fall on to, and a lot of these kids now, they don't believe in God. They don't believe in anything for that matter. They look at the media. They see the shit that's going on. They're getting lied to left and right. They don't know who to believe. Is Trump good or Trump bad? Is, an open border or not open border? They lie after lie. Now they got the internet. And we had kids, we talked about it, kids on our beach patrol and stuff, I asked the one kid who passed away, and he goes, Mike, you get on the internet and you look at people, what they have and what you don't have, or you have, 1,000 people who could criticize you. You get on the internet. I was watching this thing, a girl gets on and they called her ugly, and then now they actually, some of the, like TikTok, whatever, they were actually, when you're on camera, they actually Photoshop you so you look better.
Yeah, no. If you look at any camera on a lot of social media apps, you look 10% better than you would in real life.
No, me, does.
No, it would. You look automatically better when you look at an Instagram camera.
Sure thing. My point is that we, we have to wake up. Right now, there's like in the Baltimore, Maryland school district, I don't think like 70% of kids can't even read or write. You got murder in Philadelphia. It's probably going to hit. It's like 400 or 500 people killed already. We're Chicago. I mean, we're killing each other left and right. We're ODing. I mean, when Barack Obama was in, it wasn't too bad. It was starting to creep up. 60, 70,000. Trump got in. He went into 80, 90. He brought it down because the border wall. Now it's a wide open border wall. Now you're up to 100, 110, 120. It's going to be crazy. The suicides. When did a 10-year-old kid there had to kill themselves? Of course, people talk about gun violence and the shooting, which really accounts for like a very small percentage. Most gun deaths in the United States, there's about 45,000 gun deaths in the United States, maybe 50, about 40 something. Vast majority, I think at least 60% of them are self-inflicted wounds with a handgun, suicide. The other, murders are the next one, inner city murders, and a lot of it's black on black, unfortunately. And then you got, your shootings with a long rifle, which is very small percentage, very, very small, but it's still terrifying, terrible. But you could go after the guns. And we have a societal, we're spiritually bankrupt. And part of it, I'm not saying that capitalism failed, okay, but you cannot have a society, a capitalist, a republic, a constitutional republic, unless you have a couple things. One is you need to have a good basis of religion, Catholic, Judeo. You could have Muslim, but you have to have good morals. And I see up in Michigan where all the Muslim fathers are, they're going after the school board saying, we're not going for this critical race shit.
I learned something about Muslim that I think is pretty cool. When you say a Muslim verse or phrase from like the Torah, is it?
Right.
You don't say it. You have to sing it every time. Like that's how much respect they put on like their book.
Yeah.
You have to sing it.
Right. Well, there's a famous line by Paul Simon. He goes, "I sing what I say, and I say what I sing," which is an interesting, what you're pointing out.
Yeah.
And listen, the Muslim religion, I know a lot of people, it's bad. Listen, they believe. Actually, they're actually very fond of Christians. They believe that Christ was a great Messiah, a great individual. Prophet. And my point is that you need to have a religious basis. Like, of course, you don't want to have like what they have in Iraq and Iran, where the country is run by the religion. So we do have separation of power and religion, but you need to have that. And the other thing you need to have is a well-informed, not necessarily smart, but a well-informed electorate. And we stopped, teaching people about history. If you go out there, and we had that quiz, you go out and ask people, who fought the War of 1812. Some people have an idea maybe it was the United States, and then you ask them who, and they're like, oh, I don't know, the Europeans. We don't know who fought in World War II. We don't know about Mao. We don't understand about, communism. Like AOC, she talks about, she belongs to the Democratic Democratic Social Party. I mean, they're one step from communism, and people say, "Oh, communism is good; it could be eaten." No. You're talking about the loss of rights. You're talking about a totalitarian, boot on the neck. And we have the founding fathers, and what we have here is very, very special. Anyway, I think that what I'm trying to say, and I'll finish up, is that
what are you trying to say?
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, there's a lot going on, but we're a lost society, number one, and we need to bring our spiritual life back. That's number one. Number two is getting back with medicine. Initial thing I talked about with our board here is that you have corporate America in medicine right now, and a lot of people. There's still good medicine out there, and there's still a lot of people like me who are really advocates. And there's some great universities, great facilities, Cleveland Clinic, University of Penn, where you got really a good collaboration between the doctors and the hospital staff. And it can work, but there's also this corporate America that got in here, and they need to have their heels put down a little bit. They need to be controlled. We need to bring peer review back, and you can't have if a corporation owns the anesthesiology department. The doctors who run the hospital or in the hospital should have say over it. You have to be careful about that, and you can't have profits, just dictating in medicine. I can tell you right now, to my hospitals, it's very good. The anesthesiology department that I work with are great. The administration is the administration. They're bean counters. They're always trying to, save money, and we're always trying to spend it, which is a good thing. It's an adversarial thing, but it's respectful. So
Shout out Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. We could end the show here. I know you learned a lot, but medicine is an interesting thing, and a lot of people don't know it. And I think it's important for me to show you guys and to talk about what's going on. The dermatology is big, the ophthalmology is big, and when they are bought over by a corporation, there's a tendency, in my opinion, to be cold, not to be personal. And I don't know about you, but I think medicine,
Yeah, that's not how to do it. I don't think people like that or respond to
No, it's not. And medicine, it's an art as much as it's a science. Medicine, when we do procedures, you get in there, you're operating, and I know they're talking about robotics and all of that, and there's nothing. I mean, you learn how to operate. I teach residents. I get them put their hand in the wound. They hold a scalpel. I mean, there's certain things that you learn how to do, and I don't know. It's going to be a long time before a machine could do that, and the critical thinking that we do. So you want to have more mom and pop. And I tell you, Affordable Health Care Act, it had some good ideas, and I wish we could take some of those good ideas, like standardizing records, healthcare records. They started doing it. It fell flat in its face. It's starting to come around now because we should all be under the same system. There's one now. It's called Epic, which kind of nice. But I should be able to go into my computer and get anybody's record I need
up to date.
Up to date if I'm seeing them. The problem is there's another law that the federal government passed. It's called HIPAA, which is like God forbid anybody gets their medical records. It's protected. But it's overkill because then it stops us from being able to do what we want to do. If your wife doesn't let you or your family doesn't want you to see your stuff, that's fine. But then if you're incapacitated, we need to be able to get your information. So it becomes an issue. Anyway, I just want to say thank you, everyone. So this is Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar. We have this show. Usually we have it with what do you call it? Jeremy. But Jeremy is out a little bit sick today. And so we have Sean. Sean, I really appreciate. Did you learn anything today?
I did. I felt like I learned some things.
Yeah. It's a pretty good show, and a lot of people, like to hear about it. And we're building our what do you call it, brand. So we're on. Just so people know, we're on
Rumble, Twitch, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify.
Right.
Anything else? Twitter now?
Twitch. Yeah, we've been on Twitter for a while. Actually, our Twitter archives. I didn't realize Twitter archives our videos. Yeah, we're gonna go check it later on. I want to show you. So we're on Twitter, and so anybody want? Oh, actually, we're on Getter too. We have now our Twitter account pushed over to Getter, so we're there, and we're trying to get on Truth Social and other things. But we'll get on everything. I'll take anything.
We'll be everywhere.
So anyway, thank you everyone for hanging out with us. I'll be back next week, and actually tonight we have our lifeguard show is coming up, and we have a special guest from
Lake Huron.
Right, so that'll be at 6:30. So if you want to tune back in, let us know. Anyway, thank you very much, and we can't say stay out, stay alive.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.